Okay, hello. Welcome to this class. Welcome to those of you joining in live. Welcome to those of you watching the recording. Thank you so much for signing up for this. Thank you so much for joining. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Eva. I will share a bit more about myself in a minute. I just wanted to hop on here for a bit before I start sharing my screen and you can see the slides, the presentation I prepared. So yeah, I would say let's dive right in. Thank you so much again for being here, for joining me today. Feel free to ask any questions that may pop up during the class. You have a chat window down here at the bottom of your screen. And otherwise, if you are watching the recording, feel free to take notes of any questions that may pop up and just send me an email afterwards or connect to me on Instagram. You will have my details in the emails that I send out. So yeah, I will now share my screen. Once again, welcome. Thanks for joining. And let's dive right in. All right, you are hopefully now able to see my slides. These, I have prepared just for this class, for this free class that is centered around finding freedom with food and joy in your body. And I am really looking forward to sharing some insights and some ideas here with you. This is a topic that is very, very close to my heart just because of my personal experience with all of this. And also just because seeing how many people out there are dealing with similar issues. My intention with this class is to provide you with hope, inspiration, and practical tools for the next steps on your personal journey towards food freedom. And at this point, I really want to say that everything I say is a buffet. So take what resonates with you, take what works for you, and just leave what doesn't. I know that this is a very personal topic and there is no one-size-fits-all approach, and that's not at all what I'm trying to offer. I'm just going to share what worked for me, what I have found useful, and yeah, just as I said, providing you with hope and inspiration, just knowing that whatever it is that you are dealing with and that you are going through, you can absolutely overcome. What we'll cover in this class, I will first introduce myself, just share a tiny little bit about myself so that you know who you're listening to here. Then I will talk to you about my own journey with food and body image. I will then just share a bit about, as I said before, what's worked for me personally and what I have found to be the steps for me to find freedom with food and joy in my body. And then based on that, provide you with a little toolkit that you can use on your own journey and you can draw from and you can adapt as you see fit. And then at the end, I have a personal invitation for you that, I'm very, very excited to share with you and that I have been cooking up for a very long time. So let's get started. I will first, as I said, share a little bit about myself. I am Eva. It's very nice to virtually meet you. Thank you so much for joining in here. Thank you for being here and listening to me. Personally, a couple of personal details. As I said, my name is Eva. I'm 20 years old. I've been born and raised in Austria, but I am a bit of a nomad. So at the moment, I am in Scotland, in the UK, and spending my summer here. Professionally, I do work as a holistic health and life coach, a yoga teacher, and a writer. And this is just a little bit about myself. Hello, I just saw that Rach went here. Hey, welcome. I'm just getting started with a little introduction about myself. So, moving on to my journey with food and body image, which is probably the most interesting part for for the people listening now and watching the recording. I have a pretty long journey with this topic. I have spent many, many years dieting, counting calories, restricting the types of food I eat, restricting calories, food intake altogether, which did lead me to the binge restriction cycle, meaning that I would restrict myself and sometimes just not eat for days or eat very little for days. And then obviously eventually my body wanted to make up for that, which led me to terrible binges and just overeating, emotional eating, stuffing myself with food that was not good for me. And then again, trying to make up for it, going back into restriction mode and starting the cycle all over again. And that all of that was combined with intense over-exercising. So I was doing at least 6 workouts a week, and really intense workouts, was not listening to my body when it needed to rest at all, was really just pushing myself way too hard. And again, that combined with restricting my food intake was just not such a great idea. So it really led me to some serious health issues and also just a burnout altogether. It was not fun, I'm gonna be honest with you, but I have learned so much on this journey and can now say that I do feel freedom around food, and I do really enjoy movement and practice joyful movement in any way, and just honor my body in a completely different way. If you are curious about my journey a little bit more, about what led up to this, how I got into all of this mess that I found myself in, I did write a blog article about it. I'm gonna send you the link after this, you can just read up on that if you're curious. Otherwise, I would really like to move on just on how I transitioned from then, as I told you before, feeling stuck, feeling limited, feeling isolated, like a failure, doing all these crazy, intense, restrictive patterns, to now where I feel free, balanced, satisfied, connected, and inspired, happy in my body. Most of the time, obviously, I also want to be open with you and honest that obviously not 100% of the time I feel amazing. That's just not possible. I'm still human, and of course there are still days where things pop up and where I find myself in, well, I wouldn't say I go back to old patterns, but find myself in old ways of thinking maybe, and find myself being critical or whatever. So it does happen, and it's not a linear road to recovery. It just doesn't exactly work that way. But in general, I have really found freedom in this regard. And obviously the question now is how? Most importantly though, what I learned is that challenges around food and body image are not about what we eat or how we look. That really was my key learning in all of this. That's one of the first things that I got to understand. And that was just really such a game changer for me to move away from the obsession of food and shaping my body, because I understood that that's really not what all of this is about. But then, of course, if this is not what it's about, what is it about then? And I personally have found that there's 4 steps, or at least for me, it took 4 steps in 4 different areas that I really got to explore in this regard. And the first one was getting support. I am a very independent person and always found myself trying to figure out everything on my own all the time, just because that's what I have learned as a young kid, basically. And that's what my life looked like most of the time. So the first major step for me was really understanding that getting help is a sign of strength and not of weakness. And that we are social creatures and we are supposed to be connected to others. And then really just allowing myself to be supported, to be guided, to be inspired by others who have overcome similar challenges or who just understand what's going on. So that was really one of the first key learnings for me. And yeah, what I actually did was I signed up for a group coaching program at the Institute of the Psychology of Eating, which is an excellent institution, and I 100% recommend all their resources. They did change my life, to be fair. And then from there, I just moved on into different areas of coaching, therapy, online community. So just really starting to understand that getting support is such an important part. Secondly, I understood that a lot of the journey to food freedom is making peace with my body and not seeing my body as something I need to control or change, but as something that I want to work with and that is there for me. And that is really my home, essentially. So what I really got to learn is listening to my body's signals, just tuning in into what my body tells me and understanding that there is so much information that the body constantly gives us. And essentially, the wisdom of the universe is in every cell of our body, and we have access to it. We just have to learn how to listen and how to honor that. Then another major aspect was just honoring rest and understanding that rest is productive and essential and necessary just for being able to do anything, essentially, and just honoring that and allowing myself to rest as well was another key component here. And then also focusing on nourishment and really looking at what nourishes my body ideally, instead of seeing food as an enemy or seeing food as something I need to control or restrict. Just really focusing on, okay, how can I best nourish my body? What does my body want? What does my body need? And what is best for my body at this moment? And something really important that I do want to share here is that this looks different for everyone. And there is, again, no one-size-fits-all approach to diet. There is no one perfect diet that will work for everyone. And it really is about understanding what works for you as an individual and what works for your body. And at the same time also understanding that this can shift and change. This can shift and change over time. This can shift and change with the seasons, with your physical activity, with where you live. There's so many components really that play into what nourishes you ideally in each moment, that the only person who can know that is you. And you are the expert, really, and you are your own perfect nutritionist. So you are the only one who can tell yourself what to best eat. I just really want to highlight that because I think there's a lot of confusion around that and a lot of, just basically a lot of people trying to tell you what to do when really they can't know. The third aspect for me was making peace with my mind and really actively working on my mindset. And it started with just observing thought patterns, observing stories about food, observing stories about body image I was telling myself, and then starting to practice mental hygiene, meaning really very deliberately choosing which thoughts I wanted to allow in and which thoughts I wanted to follow, and which ones simply were not serving me and were harming me, actually. And then as a next step, also transforming the way I talk to myself and I think about myself, and realizing really how easy it is to let the inner critic take over and to listen to that when, like, the main thought that came up for me at that point, or the realization, was really that all these things I think about myself, I would never say that to anyone, not even someone I dislike. So why would I be so mean to myself? It really doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And it's really just by starting to observe that and by starting to become aware of that, these things started to shift as well. And then, brought me peace with my mind, which then again, of course, increased the peace I felt with my body. And also for this, I did... Oh, okay, no, sorry, that comes later. Anyways, moving on to the next point is making peace with my emotions. And this is something that I still work on personally, that I work on with most of my one-on-one clients, because it's something that's so important and that plays into all aspects of our lives. And it's something that we're simply not taught. We all have emotions, and then so many of us have no idea how to actually deal with them. And what we learn is just to hide them or suppress them or rationalize them. And at the end of the day, all emotions want to do is being released and expressed and felt. They're just signals, they're just there, they're just passing through. They are not who we are, but they are just, essentially they're just waves that want to pass through us. And the more we learn to allow that, the easier it becomes, and then they don't have to pile up and cause us to do all kinds of strange things in other areas. So the main lesson for me here was really to learn how to feel my emotions and just allow them to be what they are, finding ways to release them, and really stopping to rationalize and explain and justify and suppress them. So these are the 4 steps that I found extremely helpful on my personal journey. And the reason I'm telling you this is basically just because I do want to make sure or make you understand that if I can, you can. If I can find freedom with food and joy in my body, then so can you 100%. And I know what it feels like to feel stuck in this area. I know how hopeless it can seem, but I really want you to know that it's not. And I really want you to know that if I can break this cycle, then so can you. Then, of course, again, the question is how? And that's where the next point comes up, and I want to offer you a little toolkit for each of these areas that we talked about, just some basic steps that you can take in each and every one of them. And just again, as I said before, take what suits you, take what makes sense for you, and leave what doesn't. Again, it's not a fixed recipe, it's not a this is the way. This is just what I have found useful and what I want to share with you. You're free to try and just experiment with it and see what happens. So the first one, again, is get support. There's different ways of doing that, and I remember when I first started to look for support, I found it quite difficult to find something that suited me. And essentially the different areas that I found was one-on-one support, so coaching and or therapy. And if this is something you're looking for, I absolutely want to encourage you to find someone who is specialized in the specific issue that you're dealing with. So if you're dealing with binge eating, find someone who's specialized and ideally has been through this experience. If you are anorexic, if whatever else it is, just find someone who is really specialized in that, who has had the experience themselves, who is trained in that, because otherwise it can be very difficult to feel understood and to feel supported in the way that you deserve it. Then the next thing is all kinds of group offers. So there's group coaching, there's support groups on Facebook especially. I found a lot of them that I found really useful. There's different communities. Also on Instagram, actually, there's a very strong community. And it can be really helpful just to connect to like-minded people and just to be able to share your experience and to hear about other people's experiences as well. The next point that I would 100% suggest is find supportive content. Be very, very mindful of the content you consume, especially on social media, because it just has such a massive impact. It just goes straight into your subconsciousness, essentially. And just everything that you consume in that regards also feeds you. Your social media feed is also food in a way. It's your mental food. It's your emotional food. So just be very mindful of that and try to consume content that uplifts you. Find books to read, podcasts to listen to, and just also accounts to follow that you find supportive. And I will send out, in the course of the week, I will put together a little list of the content and the resources that I have found useful. Just again for you to have something to start with and to just, be able to select what suits you. And then the last point is friends and family. And I know that this can be very tricky. And so many of the people I talk to about all things related to food and body image find that their friends and family just don't get it and don't understand it, or just also make comments that are very unhelpful and make all of it even worse. And I get it. I know that this is very tricky. And still, I think it's so important to open up to the people around you what you're going through. And just by sharing your experience and by, again, releasing, that's again this emotional release to some extent, just by releasing what's going on for you and sharing that and being open, it already becomes easier. And the people who really want the best for you will make an effort to understand. Will they always be perfect? No. Will they always say the right thing? No. Will they always give you exactly what you need? Of course not. But at least they can try if you tell them what's going on, and at least you can also get closer to them instead of isolating and distancing yourself even more and feeling more and more lonely and stuck in your patterns. So 100% reach out for supportive people online, in your local community, and also be open and be brave with your friends and family. The second part is making peace with your body. And this is something that, interestingly so, is quite difficult for some people and sometimes feels a bit strange because, again, it's just not something we're taught. But I 100% recommend checking in with your body daily and just noticing what's going on and starting to listen again and asking questions like the ones I listed here. How does your body feel? What does it need right now? Does your body want to move or to rest? And how can you best nourish it in this moment? And then just really tuning in and listening and seeing what comes up. And I actually want to invite you to do this right now. So just take a moment, sit up straight, close your eyes if you want to, if it feels comfortable. And just observe, just feel your body for a moment. You can start breathing deeper if you like. And you can just notice anything that comes to your attention. If there's any parts that feel tense, or if there's any parts that feel light or maybe tickly. Anything really that you can bring your attention to that comes up for you right now, that your body is bringing your attention to. Just go there and stay there for a moment. Observing the physical sensations. And forming the intention to listen, to care for your body, to give it what it needs, while understanding that this may be different every day, every moment. I invite you to give your body permission to communicate with you. I invite you to open up to listen. Open up to learning how to listen. And also being patient with yourself while doing so. I invite you to take another deep breath. Just send fresh new energy throughout every cell of your body. Exhale everything that doesn't serve you anymore. Then bring your attention back to this class, back to this room that you're in, back to this virtual room that we're in together. And yeah, this is just a very, very simple practice that I absolutely encourage you to do every day. You can do it for 1 minute to start with and just see what comes up and just give your body the space to talk to you and form the intention of listening. And yeah, just as everything, it's a practice, and you get better with it day by day, the more you do it. And yeah, I swear it's magical. And your body has so many messages for you that you can be grateful for. So moving on to the next part is making peace with your mind. And that again is a whole topic that also there's a lot of information and content out there. And yeah, I just want to cover some very basic aspects here. And the main thing is really don't believe everything you think. Just because you have a thought pop up doesn't mean it's true. And just because you have your inner critic telling you something doesn't mean that that's what you are. And that's what you have to be. So really just get curious about what you tell yourself. Get curious about the thoughts that come up. And just start observing. Just observe and start listening. Again, a lot about this is just about listening and observing. And then as you start to observe and to notice things, you can also start choosing. As I said before, you get to choose the thoughts that you think. And also, again, this is a practice. There's no magic switch that you can flip that from one day to the other you're gonna change your entire way of thinking. But with every thought that you think, you have a choice, and you can just start making better choices and practice that mental hygiene that I talked about before. And then also you can start changing your thoughts. You can start replacing negative thoughts with positive ones. You can start replacing criticism for yourself with praise. You can start acknowledging all the things that are great about you. You can start seeing all the amazing things that your body can do instead of focusing on its shape or weight or focusing on the parts that you don't like. So you can choose and you can change. And again, this is a whole process. And yeah, I don't have the time and space right now and your attention span probably to go into too much detail. But again, here I did write a blog post about that, and where I explain in more detail 5 practical tools to transform your negative self-talk, which has been, again, such a game changer for me, because just the way we talk to ourselves has such a big impact in how we see ourselves, obviously, and then also just how we behave and how we live. Again, I will send you the link, no worries. And yeah, you will have access to that if you want to. And then the 4th step, as I mentioned before, is make peace with your emotions. And here it's really about feeling rather than rationalizing. You don't have to name your emotions as you feel them. You don't have to label them or judge them. You can just feel them. Here again, getting into your body can be very useful. So just when you notice an emotion come up, just focus on the physical sensations. Focus on where in your body this emotion sits. Focus on what it would look like if it had a color, what it would be, if it had a shape, what it would be, if it was an animal, what it would be. You can do all kinds of games essentially here. Just how you can feel your emotions instead of saying like, yeah, this is sadness and I feel sad now. Well, maybe it can be sadness, but maybe it's also a combination of things. Oftentimes, our emotions are not as distinctive as we like, and we can feel a lot of different things at the same time, and that's okay, You don't have to explain it, or label it, or justify it. Just focus on the feelings of it. And again, as everything I say here, it's a practice. Then the next part is expressing versus suppressing. Try to really express your emotions as they come up in whichever way that suits you, and try to just bring them to the surface. And very, very important here, I think, is it doesn't necessarily have to be in relation to someone else. So you don't have to tell someone how you feel to express your emotions. I will bring up some examples for that later, but I think that's really important because sometimes it's like, it can be very intimidating to feel like you have to tell someone how you feel, so you end up suppressing it and you end up just ignoring it, which I understand because it can be scary, and then there's this whole story in your head going on again, how the person will react and what's going to happen and blah blah blah, and just your mind starts making up all kinds of scenarios. And I get that, but the thing is, still emotions want to be expressed, but it doesn't have to be towards someone else. Which brings me to the next point. Essentially, it's just about releasing. It's just about letting this wave of emotion pass through you and getting it out instead of pushing it down. And then also facing your emotions instead of distracting yourself. That is something that comes up a lot with eating challenges, that we just distract ourselves with food. So instead of facing our emotions, we just turn to food and we eat. And then we end up overeating, we end up emotionally eating, we end up eating things that are not the ideal nourishment for our bodies. And one of the reasons for that is just that we use food as a distraction. Whereas if we learn to face our emotions and really just bring up the courage to look at what's going on and what's coming up and what's being present for us right now, we don't need these distractions. So it's really a lot about allowing and releasing and facing. So whenever, that's something that I just told one of my clients in our last session, try to practice just creating a gap between an emotion comes up and instantly you reach for a distraction. So in her case, it would oftentimes be food, or it can also be social media, or it can be alcohol, it can be all kinds of things. But trying to resist that urge to distract yourself, even if it's just for a minute initially. So I really want to encourage you that next time you feel an emotion come up and you have this urge to reach for something to distract or to change the way you feel, stay with it for just 1 minute. Just be like, okay, I have something come up here. Let me look at that for a minute. And again, you can do the things I told you before. You can imagine it as a color. You can see where it sits in your body. You can, also just be curious. Ask questions, be like, okay, what is this emotion I'm feeling? Where does it come from? What does it want to tell me? And also, one of the most powerful questions I found, that I also ask myself a lot when I do find myself distract myself with whatever, food, social media, can be exercise, it can be all kinds of things. It's just pausing for a second and being like, okay, what am I distracting myself from? What am I avoiding here? And again, just creating that gap and pausing and allowing for the answer to emerge and finding the courage to face it and to just look at it for 1 minute. If then you still go on distracting yourself, if you're still gonna go on and eat a box of chocolate or a tub of ice cream, that's fine. No worries. But at least you have this little gap and you are practicing the skill of facing your emotions rather than instantly reaching for the distraction. And this gap can grow over time. And then some of the tools that I have found very easily accessible is, first of all, a verbal release of emotions. So meaning putting them into words. And again, that doesn't have to be in relation to someone else. So Two of the things that I have found to work really well is just journaling, writing them down, writing everything out as it is, as it comes up, without editing, without judging, just writing as if your hand had a mind of its own. And then if you're not that much of a writer but prefer to speak, it's voice recordings that you just record on your phone. You can listen to them if you want to. You don't have to, though. You don't have to send them to anyone. You never have to do anything with that, but just having that space to express it. And especially, I feel like having that voice as well, using your voice, is very, very powerful. So just by speaking something out, it's a great release, because you literally just get it out. Same goes for writing down. It's really just up to you what you prefer. You can try both. You can see what works for you. You can also use different tools for different situations. Completely up to you. Again, this is just a toolkit. You can pick out the bits and pieces that work for you. And then what is also always great with emotions is physical release. And that is really in the moment that the emotion comes up. So in the moment the wave of sadness hits you, allow yourself to cry. Let it out. In the moment that you feel angry, scream, hit a pillow, throw something, not at someone, but if you have the opportunity to throw something without breaking anything, if possible, do it. Just having this physical release is amazing and can really just set you free right there in the moment, so the emotion doesn't get stuck. Also, shaking is great, just shaking it off. Shaking your arms, shaking your legs, shaking your head, shaking your entire body. Dancing is also amazing. So all types of physical release. Again, this is in the moment, whereas the verbal release sometimes is a bit afterwards, has some sort of delay, and also can sometimes then activate the mind again, because as you put something into words, you somehow already then have your mind involved, which is not ideal. But the perfect thing to do really is in the very moment that an emotion arises. Let it out in whichever way suits you, and also in whichever way suits the emotion. So for joy, it can be jumping or laughing. And again, for sadness, it can be crying. So just observe that, and whenever you can, follow these urges. Again, I know we are taught in society we're not allowed to show that, and it's going to be weird, and what are people gonna think, blah, blah, blah. But really try to practice that and try to give yourself permission to be human and to express your emotions, because that's what they're there for. Okay, so I have covered the 4 steps here. I now have space for some questions. If there is any, you can write it in the chat. You can put on your microphone for a second, whatever suits you. There's a bit space. And then again, for those of you watching the recording, feel free to email me any questions. Feel free to message me on Instagram. I will do my best to get back to you. All right, I'll check in the chat box again later. If something comes up, feel free to write it. Otherwise, I will continue with my invitation for you. As I said before, getting support is one of the most important steps that I personally took. And this is why I'm offering this right now. And I just feel like I now am in a place where I can give the support that I once needed. So what I am starting to create right now is my 6 months to food freedom community edition. I do have a one-on-one coaching program around this already, but what I have found is that a lot of people, first of all, crave the sense of community, and second of all, find it more accessible and more affordable to join a group coaching program. So that's why I'm developing this right now. And the intention here really is for you to find freedom with food and joy in your body in this unique group coaching container. I will get into a bit more detail about it in a second, what that container includes. But first of all, I want to tell you why I'm offering this. And first of all, it's, as I told you initially when I got a bit into my own story, is because I know how painful it is to feel stuck with unwanted eating habits. I 100% understand. I've been there, and it sucks, to be honest. But I also know that it doesn't have to be this way, and that even though maybe once we're stuck in it, we might not be able to see it, but there is a way out. There always is. And again, that's one of the reasons I'm offering this. It's because I'm confident I can help you move forward on your journey to food freedom and joy in your body. And I understand the value of a like-minded community, because again, what I initially did is I joined a group coaching program. I interacted in Facebook groups. I talked to people who were going through similar struggles, and I found so much value in just having this community and having this support. And as I said before, I want to provide the support that I once needed in an accessible and affordable way. Who is this program for? It is for you if you are ready to find food freedom and joy in your body. If you are ready to change your mindset and your behavioral patterns. There is going to be some drastic changes involved in healing and recovering. Absolutely. This program is also for you if you're ready to dig deep and identify the root causes of your challenges with food and body image. Because as I said before, it's never about the food and it's never about the shape of your body. And for me, as I found, just dealing with what it is actually about is the only way to really heal it. Also, this program is for you if you're ready to take personal responsibility for your recovery, because you are the only one who can do it. No one can do it for you. And if you are ready to actively participate in a community coaching experience. This program is probably not a fit for you if you're looking for a quick fix. As far as I'm concerned, there is no such thing. As I said before, it is about digging up the roots and really addressing the issues there. Also, it's not ideal if you are struggling with a serious eating disorder and rely on this as your only treatment. I also want to say that my personal experience is with binge eating and emotional eating. So that's what I can mostly help with, what I can provide insights with. So if you are dealing with anorexia or bulimia or any type of other eating disorder, it might not be ideal. And in general, if you do have an actual eating disorder, I 100% recommend therapy. Again, find a specialized therapist, one that understands what's going on and one who can support you with this specific issue. And this program can absolutely complement therapy, so you can do it in addition to therapy, but it's not a replacement. I just want to be crystal clear about that. And there is value in therapy. I have gone to therapy myself. It's great. And yeah, it's an addition. My offer is an addition to that, but not a replacement. Also, this program is not a good fit if you're not willing to put in the work and face your challenges head on. Because, yeah, as I said before, it is about getting to the root. It is about working through it. It is about actually taking responsibility. So if you're not willing to do that, it's not going to work. And it doesn't make sense for you to join, to be fair. And the last thing is, it's not for you if you believe that someone else can solve your problems for you. I also want to be very clear on that. That's not what coaching is about at all. I can provide you with tools. I can create space for you to go on your journey, to heal, to recover, to figure things out. But I cannot do the work for you. And I do not have a magic pill that you can take and everything's just gonna be fine one day to the other. So it is work, it is a collaboration. And yeah, I just want to be very, very clear, just to have the expectations right here. Then, as I said before, this is a very unique coaching container, and I just want to tell you the reasons why. So, first of all, it's this holistic approach that I take in all my coachings. And in this case, it's especially the combination between body, mind, and emotions, exactly those steps that I mentioned before. And we are in the program going to dig into all of these in more detail with all the tools and just really bring them together and integrate them as well. Then this program is a co-creation. So it's not my program, but yours. It is yours. And I am going to create this as we go. So I will ask you for input and I will tailor make it to the group and just adapt it to the group's needs. And I will every month just, offer what is most needed in this group and in this context. So I think that's a really, really unique opportunity to just really be part of the creation of the program and not have a fixed program that is just thrown at you and then you just have to take it as it is, but it is an open co-creation. Also, it includes ongoing support, meaning that yes, there will be some fixed resources, like I will record some classes, I will provide you with worksheets, but also there will be a Facebook group where you will receive ongoing support from myself and from each other. So also in between sessions and in between classes, you do have access to support. And speaking of access, you will also have lifelong access. So the program is for 6 months, but you will have access to all the recordings and all the resources for life. And you will also have access to the Facebook group for life. So it is a 6 months initial journey, but then you can always come back, revisit lessons. You can always stay in touch with all the people. So it is lifelong access. And then the last point is that it is one program, but it has 3 different options. So there's a fit for every preference and for every budget. And that's the next thing I'm gonna go into. So what you will get with the first option, that is the self-led program, is a monthly audio or video class, a monthly worksheet / toolbox. I like to call them toolbox because worksheets sound so much like homework. So that will just include different journaling prompts, different exercises, practices that you can do to actually implement what you learn and to actually take action. Because it's always like, yes, it's great to listen to a class, and yes, it's great to read a book or listen to a podcast or whatever and understand what's going on. But what really makes the change is doing something about it and implementing it. So that's what these toolboxes are designed to do. And then, as I said, you have lifelong access to the Facebook support group. Second option is Better Together. It includes all the things from the first one, so the audio classes, the toolboxes, the Facebook support groups, and in addition, there is a monthly group coaching call where we will get together live. You can ask all your questions. You can receive one-on-one coaching from me. You can listen to other people's stories. You can really just form a deeper connection, learn from each other, and just really get deeper support. And the third option is the all-in program, which again includes everything from option number 2, so the classes, the toolboxes, the support group, the group coaching calls, and in addition to that, there's 3 one-on-one coaching calls with me where we really get to dig deeper into your own story, your own personal story, and once again, just look closer at what works for you individually, because that is something that is super important for me, to not offer a one-size-fits-all solution, but to really just honor everyone's individuality and understand that everyone needs something different. And just the one-on-one coaching calls are a great opportunity to look closer at that and to just receive more personalized support. Then also the difference between those three is not only what it includes, but also the budgets. So the self-led one is on a pay what you can basis, because I oftentimes have people reach out to me and tell me, yes, they do need support, but they just don't have the money to invest in it right now, which I get and I understand, and I think you deserve support regardless. So this is just donation based. You can pay what you can join the classes, you get the worksheets, you're in the Facebook group, so you receive the support and you don't have to worry about the money. The second option, the Better Together, including the monthly group coaching calls and everything the self-led option includes, is a one-time investment of $299 US dollars, and that's not even $50 a month for the 6 months. And the third one, the all-in one, that in addition includes three, here it says monthly one-on-one coaching calls. I'm sorry, that's a mistake. It's 3 one-on-one coaching calls. I will change that. This one is a one-time investment of $599, and that's less than $100 a month for the full support. So the audio classes, the worksheets, the Facebook group, the monthly group coaching calls, and the, again, 3 one-on-one coaching calls. So yeah, this is again just the overview of the different options for this program. I do encourage you to join. You are very, very welcome. Whatever you can afford and whatever resonates with you at this point, whatever type of support you feel is most suitable for you, I am here to offer that. Again, it is a co-creation. It is a program that will be created together as we go. And I'm very excited about that. Really looking forward to it, to just sharing my insights and my ideas about this topic and just supporting you on this journey that I have once been on and still am on, to be honest. It's an ongoing journey, and it's a beautiful one, and it's one that is full of insights and full of growth, if you let it. So yeah, this was pretty much it. This is my 6 months to food freedom community edition program. It will start on August 2nd. So this is when the first recorded class will be sent out. You can't join anytime after that, but I encourage you to sign up before, because until the 1st of August is when these prices are valid. So this is the welcome offer, and yeah, that just allows you to sign up for a reduced rate. So if you're interested, I encourage you to sign up. I encourage you to take the leap and join me on this journey. And if you have any questions, now is again a good time. I will, of course, again send out all this information via email after the class. Also, the recording will be sent out tomorrow, the resources I promised. And yeah, you will receive a couple of emails over the course of the week. You're also always welcome to ask questions via email or Instagram. I do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. I'm just checking again. Holistic, yes, I love that, Ray. Beautiful. Excellent. Okay. Well, then I thank you again for joining, for rewatching. I think most people are gonna watch the recording whenever they see fit, whenever it works for you, which is great. It's gonna be the same with the classes in the program. You can watch it at any time. The group coaching calls will be live, but you can also rewatch them if you don't get to join in real time for whatever reason. And yeah, just to end, I want to tell you that freedom and joy are waiting for you on the other side of your eating challenges. There's so many lessons in whatever it is you're going through, if you're ready to see them and face them. And yeah, I just encourage you again to take the leap, to sign up. I will send out all the information again, and Until then, I wish you all the best. Thank you again for your time, for your energy, for being here. Sending you tons of love. All the best, and hope to see you soon, one way or another.